Hey, Kutch. Guess who's coming on the boat today? Welcome to Going Hot with Mykelti and Kutch. Jason Beghe.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming to South
Thanks
Florida, man, to come
me,
hang out. You know, this is where we live.
Not bad.
Yeah. Not a bad little country, huh?
Not bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
Man, listen, it's so good to see you.
I love you.
I
It's always
appreciate
good
it,
to see you.
man. I love you.
You're my guy.
You're my guy.
Ah.
You know, when I first met you, man, I'd watched you. I told you that I was a fan when we first met. And I didn't know what kind of guy you were because you bring fire. I didn't hear anything bad, but you bring so much fire through your character. I figured, I hope I don't run into this dude's flamethrower. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you were so approachable, so cool.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and Eric LaSalle introduced us, and I remember telling you I was a fan. And I said, everybody I see you on camera with, all the guest stars, you blow them out of the water.
Is that true?
Yeah, I told you that. And I said, but I'm gonna tell you this, and I love you. If I catch you slipping, I'm gonna blow you off the screen on your own show. And you
That's okay.
gave me that smile. You said, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, from day one, man, I just loved it.
Well, you know, also on me, I feel like I got so many shots at the plate, especially with the young actors. I always try to make sure that the most important is that they get their moment.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's a good way to find your own moment is to be interested, not interesting.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
And then it'll come through.
Right.
But you know, we killed it. We had fun.
We had fun. I told you I said, listen, black women stop me on the street and in airports. I've been hit a couple times. I've been smacked.
That's my
Leave
demographic.
Voight alone.
That's right.
They say, leave Voight alone. And one day you and Lucha and I were standing out front.
Yeah. And
some black women drove by in the car and started yelling at me to leave you alone.
Right.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do, because you've been telling me at the
yeah, I was just telling the story.
Every time you go through the airport, the ladies hit you.
Yeah, and then the universe verified it. These women come riding by and just tore me apart.
Yeah,
messing with
those are my girls. That's
but
my
listen,
thing.
But listen, I know you have a heart, and what you represent as an artist, man, I respect deeply.
Thank you. I don't even know what it is I represent.
But it's truth.
Yeah.
And you want to elevate society. See, what you represent with your Voight character is what people really wish they had to keep their neighborhoods safe. That level of humanity, I'm saying. I ain't talking about the enforcement. No, I'm talking about that level of humanity that loves the society so much.
Yeah.
And because you as an actor, I know how much you love and want to fix society and want to add value. Because I see how you roll with your boys.
Yeah.
Tell me how having two boys, Bix and Bear, how that shapes your world as Jason Beghe right now.
You know, I really couldn't answer that because I don't know what it would be, but I can't, like my children, I love so much, and I find that I learn more from them than anybody. I learn about myself, and I learn about people. Like kids are your best teachers, and I think the smartest thing, I don't know if I'm the great father or anything like that, but I think one of the smartest kind of policies that I ever came up with was that I wanted to raise them in a way that I wasn't there to teach them, I was there to learn from them. And I think kids are your best teachers. Because there'll be moments, obviously, in any child-parent relationship when, they'll drive you crazy but I realize that's me. That's not them.
Right.
And that's it. So that it's only them. And just to know them. I mean, how's it changed me? It is me. I mean, it's
everything for you.
Well, it's more than everything. It's just, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kids are the whole thing.
Yeah. But I see how hard But then the love you have extends from your kids to the way you treat the crew. They'll do anything for you.
Well, me too for them.
But they know that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's I think the thing about that, I mean, I've been with these people. I mean, on a set, you know, everybody's got to I call it taking your clothes off. You got to be there. You got to show up.
Right.
And so you live a year and a day on a set. And after 10 seasons, I mean, this is a whole other family.
Yeah, it is.
So, you know, just like, you know, I would give my life for my kids. I feel the same. There's nothing I wouldn't do for them.
And they know it. And the actors on the show, when we come in, we know it too. Here's something.
You know?
Day one.
Yeah.
On the original pilot for Chicago P.D., you know that I was a regular.
I remember.
Fred Dreyer.
Yeah. JB Smoove. Yeah.
It was all of us together, right?
Yeah.
Because they were gonna. It just was this eclectic group of actors.
That's right.
And the truth is, when I saw you, your work was stellar, but you looked so concerned all the time. That's why I didn't talk to you a lot. You just always seemed like you were in another place. And now I understand the weight of that responsibility.
It's not only that, but also, you know, the beginning of starting a series, at least for me, you know, I still am figuring out, sorry, sound. I'm still figuring out the character.
Right.
So it's like, Voight, I don't even have to read the script. You could give me a scene and I'd look at it and I could play it right now perfectly.
Right.
Because I know who he is.
Right.
I'm still trying to figure out who he is. So I was not only learning lines and trying to understand the script, and I'm always working on the script, trying to make it better. So, and I've been doing that since day one of this, and luckily the showrunners have always trusted me, and it's been very collaborative. But yeah, I had a lot of work to do. I worked. Do you know that on that first season, I had 2 days off the entire season, and I got back surgery on both those days.
You started out as a male model.
No, I started out as a child.
Well, okay, a very handsome.
I wasn't that. Actually, you want to know how I became a model? It's funny. See, I never knew what I wanted to do. I had no idea. I went to this fancy private school. Everybody worked on Wall Street, and I knew there was no way I was going to be on the phone for the rest of my life or be in an office.
Right.
But I had no idea, and nobody was an actor, you know. But people, I was like a show off and funny and all that. So people, you should be an actor. I'm like, who does that? But so I was in college, and I knew this guy. My sister dated a guy who became a big famous lawyer. He was the DA, assistant DA for the Bronx, but he ended up becoming a huge mob lawyer, a guy named Ed Hayes, and I think he represented John Gotti or some, but so he was kind of a wheeler dealer, and I ran into him, and he said, "I want you to meet this guy Antonio." He said, "Who is he?" He says, "Some fashion illustrator." Turns out he's the biggest fashion illustrator probably in history. So I go meet him, and he says, we start talking. He says, "You want to be a model?" I'm like, "No." He said, "I don't think." I became friends with him. He became friends with my parents, and we just became friends. And I used to hang out with him from time to time. He introduced me to my mentor, very, very important guy in my life. And one day he says, "Hey, I want you to go meet this photographer, do some pictures." Like, I don't want to be a model. He's like, "Nah, just give the pictures to Bina." That's my mother. I'm like, okay. So I go meet this photographer. He starts taking pictures of me. I do these pictures. I'm like, "Okay, nice to meet you." And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I see these pictures a couple days later. They're the most amazing photographs I've ever seen. And it turns out the guy is the biggest fashion photographer in the world. The biggest models in the world would pay money to have him take their picture. His name was Bruce Weber.
Wow.
Right? And he invites me to go do a shoot at his place with a bunch of models out in Long Island, and then a week later he invites me to Venice, Italy. And I'm like, I don't know how to be a model, so I got a GQ magazine, and I looked at it, and this is 1978,
right.
1979, and it's all the guys at that point are like, "I know I'm attractive.
Right.
I know you want," and I couldn't do that. So I grew up on art books, and what I did is I looked at the art books, and they were like real pictures, like the family of man, these kind of things. And so I said, I know what I'll do. I'll create a situation in my mind. So when I was doing a picture, instead of like, I know I look good, which I just couldn't pull off, I'd like create something in my head like, okay, I'm waiting at the bus stop to go to the loony bin to pick up my mother. I just make up something. And then, they were like in Italy, which is where I was, I was the first real person actor. I mean, model. And within a month, I was the Armani man, and this huge thing.
I saw that.
And everybody just said, that was it. So my life just happened to me because I just had fun, and I would create, and they said, piccolo actore. And so, that was it. And then I went, that was it.
Right. But see, you and I, we had a conversation, and you said, we were talking about blessed. We ain't talking about no religious stuff. We're just talking about when you get to a level where you realize it had nothing to do with you. How did this happen? Why me? And you go, that goes beyond luck, right? Yeah. And so, but I think you honor it. All the blessings on you, man. I see you honor it every day. So listen, man, you want to take a break right quick? We'll take a break. We'll take 5.
Whatever you want.
And then we'll bring Matt on in, man.
I'm in.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you for coming, boy.
You're my guy.
You're all right.
Okay.
Matt Kutch is back.
My guy.
Thank you.
Jason Beghe, J-Rock.
Yeah, man, I've been listening. It's mind-boggling.
I'll get up.
It's so cool.
Brother, thank you for being my partner and my brother.
More interesting, it's like funny, we talk about something, we say, who do I want to be?
Right.
And that's, I think, the trap. Because you already are. And and part of the trap is that we get caught up in becoming. Because there is becoming is you miss it. I'm becoming. It's all be.
So live in the moment.
This is it. This is it right
present.
here. You already are.
Right.
And like I said, there'll always be room for improvement. But if you want to get better, and if you want to change, you want to evolve, you got to do it from here.
How old
This
were
is
you?
where all your power is right now.
Right
But when
here.
did you recognize
Yeah,
that?
how old were you when you...
I mean, because you didn't see that when you were 19. I'm
No.
listening to you. That the 19-year-old did not see that.
No.
I don't know. I'm still realizing.
Yeah, right on.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not. I haven't got that.
It's that evolution.
No, I'm getting that. I'm getting that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just being willing to experience anything.
Yeah.
And then you can get in this moment. And that, people are getting into meditation and all.
Right.
Your life can be a meditation. Because all meditation is really, I think, is being here now.
Right.
And here we are.
Right.
And that's all there is right now.
Right. But not to oversimplify it.
Yeah.
I love that philosophy, but if somebody's watching and they're around a bunch of young people,
Right.
if somebody's just listening to us talk right now,
Right.
and they're around a bunch of mean people
Right.
all day,
Right.
how do they apply being present? What have you ever had to do that under those circumstances?
Absolutely, but
Okay,
that's the
you
thing.
Talk about that.
Well, yeah. First of all, mean people, like let's say, are they really mean people, or are they just being mean? Okay.
Okay, gotcha.
And so number 2 is this: we tend to go, and it's this is just a way of looking at things. Oh, you make me feel. Nobody makes you feel anything. That's your feelings. The only person who created a feeling in you is you. They are your feelings. So you can either change your point of view about the person, you can change your zip code, whatever you want to do. But if you give all your power to them, they make you, and you instead, so you have to admit cause instead of effect.
Right.
And so this is my moment.
Right.
And I'm allowing him to have his moment.
Right.
And so we have our moments. We're both in this moment. And then we see what happens. Maybe we get along, maybe we don't. But who cares?
Does
it's
getting more comfortable in your own skin over time reflect on that?
I think so, yes, absolutely. But I don't know why this pops into my head. This is one way I look at acting also. Is oh, like, I always say this, and I think it informs the way I try to live my life, is that I think in order to, what do we do as an actor? We take on somebody else's viewpoint. We be somebody else. I'm going to be Voight.
And take his journey.
Right, so I become somebody else, right? So in order to be somebody, you have to understand them. In order to understand somebody, you have to love them.
That's right.
So the job of the actor is to love everybody. And that includes, let's say I got to play Hitler. I gotta be able to take. He's not being a bad guy. He's being a guy. He's thinking he's doing the right thing, getting rid of all these Jews and doing all this, And so you have to, in order for me to be him, instead of playing him like a bad guy, but a guy. What's scarier is this is a guy who thinks he's doing right, and he's gonna. And that's why he could make those speeches so compelling, because he believed it. Now I don't have to like him. But I can't be him unless I love him, unless I understand him.
But how did you go from being a male model to understanding the psychology that it takes to make that journey in your mind? Like, what you're saying is it's so past anything I have inside of me.
I don't know. I just, I don't know. I think a lot of it also is growing up in New York City. And, just because I was a male model didn't mean I was a vacuous, dope.
I wasn't implying vacuous. I don't even know what vacuous means to imply it, quite frankly. But if I did, I would use that word.
Yeah, but I just, New York, and I was very gregarious. I mean, I just ran into people. I made friends every day. And incredible people I met growing up in New York. The experiences I had were unbelievable. Just as a boy and then later as a young man, because you just are exposed to so many human beings. You're walking down the street and just talk about being present. These are human beings. Right. And it's wow. And I probably see on a busy day in New York, 30,000 human beings. Yeah. And if you're willing to say, hey, how you doing? Hi, hey, and look at them, you're gonna
when we're experiencing that and we're young and we're all growing up, I don't think there's ever a self-image to that's what's going to make us who we are. But at some point we flip and we totally realize that's how we became who we are, where we grew up.
Yeah.
So I imagine the Midwest is different than New York.
Oh,
no question, right? The San Fernando Valley is still different than Compton.
Oh, yeah.
Crenshaw, wherever you're at.
New York City is, there's so many people. And that's what this planet is really made up of human beings.
Right. Let me take you back to childhood.
Okay.
Because you struck a nerve when you were talking just now.
Yeah.
You're talking about the different kinds of human beings you meet in life, but you're also talking about being yourself, finding yourself that you're here.
Right.
Don't live it like you someplace else.
Right.
Or you're going to become somebody, or you're already somebody.
Yeah, you're right.
So as a kid, growing up around all kinds of people, how did bullies land on you? Can you talk a little bit about how you had to navigate a bully? Because what if somebody's listening to us talk on our shoulder right now and they want to know, what did he have to deal with when he was coming up? So as a kid, as a teen, as anything.
The funny thing
deal
was,
with bullies, man?
I got bullied 2 times, and they were very small moments. I never really experienced bullying. Okay. I got mugged once when I was 13.
Okay. And
that's, I guess, kind of bullying. Guy, put a gun on me and asked me to give him money, and I did. Right. But I had all the money I had stolen out of my dad's wallet, so it was a lesson.
Karma.
Yeah. So I went, okay.
Did you ever take the money again?
No.
Honestly, no, wait. Honestly, never.
Honestly, yeah.
So that was the lesson.
Yeah, I know. I learned lessons like my life. If I was going off track, I got big lessons quick. I could tell you 100 stories about that.
Likewise.
Like so fast. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a story I just thought of. But bullies. One time some guy just punched me in the arm for no reason, some bully.
On school
grounds? No, not
on the street.
Never at school would I get bullied.
Okay.
No, I was too scary.
Okay.
And I went to this very tiny school. It was kind of like a community.
Right.
I mean, it was just a bunch of, it was all boys, and it was just, no. Let me tell you a story. I haven't thought of this in 100 years.
It's a bully story.
Yeah, it is a
Yeah.
bully story, but it's, holy shit, what a story. All right, I don't know if it'll be okay to tell
Come
you
on,
this
J.
story.
It's perfect.
It's perfect, brother.
So this
We
is
got to go hot
something-
at some point. You
So
got to tell us.
Well, this is a story. This is a hell of a story.
Now you landed on something. You said you're still discovering who Voight is.
Yeah.
It's a journey. It's like our own lives.
That's exactly right.
Do you, but here's for any actor that's listening,
Yeah,
that's respect for the humanity of the character.
not
Because
and yourself.
and yourself, right? What you represent, because it is your instrument. You're a live human instrument.
That's right.
That's why I make choices that I make,
Right.
because I want to add value like you. I know your heart, man.
Well, I also just,
God,
I think the
please.
best thing anybody can possibly be is themselves.
Right.
And it's always going to be a work in progress. There's always going to be infinite room for improvement.
Right.
So to me also, the character, I say I have the guy, but he's continually changing.
Right.
And he's evolving, because first of all, if I'm not evolving, Jason, if I'm not getting better or trying or striving or evolving, let's call it.
Right.
And sometimes you got to plie in order to jete. It's not always like this,
Ooh.
but you got to.
Plie in order to
Yeah.
jete.
A little ballet
No,
metaphor. But the same thing in your character.
Yeah, that's
He's
right.
got to be evolving.
That's
Or
exactly
else he's
right.
boring. He's dead. So if you're done, if you got it, then it's over.
Listen,
So that's why we have, you got to keep growing and surprising yourself.
right.
Who am I? Who am I?
That's exactly
Who am I
right.
now?
Who
Who am I gonna
And that's
be?
personally and in character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They go together.
Now here's the secret
Yeah.
that a lot of writers don't know.
Yeah.
Directors don't have a clue.
Right.
They call it a character
Right.
instead of a human being. And then they write to a character
Right.
instead of to a human being.
Right.
So they're not acutely aware of journey,
Right.
purpose,
Right.
or humanity.
Yep.
They write a character.
Right.
And a lot of times that's what they damn get. And the show sucks.
Well,
and
that's what
they
the actor's job is, to bring this
get.
guy to life.
Yeah, but
And
if they had to
there's
write it as a human being too,
contradictions.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And there's things, you find out who he is.
Right.
Like, that's my favorite quote. Very obscure artist. You never heard of this guy named Pablo Picasso.
Oh, that
Yeah.
little guy.
Yeah,
that
he
little
was a
guy.
Spanish dude. Anyway, he made some paintings, but he did this incredible masterpiece called Guernica.
Mm-hmm.
And this art critic says to him, how do you plan a painting like this? And Picasso looked at him like, what a question. And he goes, as if almost to a child, he says, I paint the picture to find out what it looks like. So if you already know what it's gonna be, then what's the point of even doing it?
Exactly.
So you have to allow it to happen. And I try not to plan in life. I get, I'll prepare, but I think of that like an orange. It's got like a peel, it's got the meat, it's got that white stuff, seeds. My prep is eating the whole orange. I just put it all in there.
Right.
But then when I go to work, I try to just spit it out and trust the juices there,
Yeah.
and listen and answer and see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's fun and exciting.
Right.
Like, I don't need to go skydiving.
Right.
That's pretty exciting.
Right.
Right. That's cool. I mean, I
Right.
love it.
Right. But you talked about the juice being there.
Yeah.
My daddy used to say that the juice is a result of the squeeze.
So
The
squeeze
juice
me.
is in the squeeze. The juice is in the squeeze, bruh.
Yeah. Well, what are you
And that's
gonna
what
get
you
out
just
of
said,
it?
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. But when
And
pressure,
sometimes it's a bad orange, and there's not a lot of juice. But you got it. That's a good thing too.
Right.
Everything is okay.
right,
It's okay. I just like to try to be okay with what is.
right, right,
What is.
right. Anything that's beneficial
Yeah.
is the result of pressure. You look at a diamond,
Yeah.
the diamond theory.
Okay.
That's the result of pressure.
Okay.
Of course, you can have a machine emulate the creator's work and
Right, right, right.
oh, you think you're a big shot.
Right.
But the real one, the real thing is the result of pressure. That's why it's
never thought of
so
that.
beautiful and perfectly flawed. There's no such thing as a perfect diamond. They're perfectly flawed diamonds.
Well, that's the thing also.
Exactly.
You know, that it's another concept I love is wabi-sabi.
Come on with it, bro.
Wabi-sabi, you could write volumes and volumes. It's a Japanese term.
Okay.
But if you just it's the Japanese concept of what is the aesthetic is, and it's that the beauty is in the imperfection.
Right.
Like you see those kind of pottery that's a little bit off. That's wabi-sabi. You know, a table made out of a piece of wood. What makes it beautiful? Like, you know, even like everybody wants to keep fixing their wood so it's perfect. But if you allow the sun and the salt air and all this stuff, it becomes more beautiful. So, you know, it's that the beauty is, so what is beauty is truth.
Right.
You know, and we have, you know, we're not perfect.
Yeah.
And that's what is beautiful.
Explain that, brother.
Well,
Break that down. Beauty is truth.
Well, I think so. I mean, I actually commissioned a painting. You've seen it at my house, that thing, You Are Beautiful?
Yes.
There's a long story behind it, but I think the truth is beauty, and beauty truth. And truth is not facts. It's not like, my name's Jason Beghe. That's not truth. That's just data. Truth is something that's you strive toward. It's what actually is. Like, we're actually here, but there's so much here. It's too much for a little human brain to conceive of.
Right.
You know? And so when I talk about truth, I'm talking about what most people would call God. I went to this fancy private school. You know, in my class was Rockefeller, John F. Kennedy, you know, and there's only 30, 40 of us in the class. And I had this...
JFK Jr.
JFK Jr., yeah. You know, like his mom took me to Europe for the first time. I mean, I knew, I've known and I've hung out with Andy Warhol, Truman Capote, I mean, all kinds of different interesting people. But, so I go to, this is growing up in New York, like many, so I went to, it was in that universe and I thrived. But growing up on the Upper West Side, I used to also, I told you, like, my parents didn't have any rules, so I did what I wanted. So I used to hang out with these other, they were men and I was a kid, but they were criminals down in the park.
How old were you?
This
Give
was
us an
from
idea where you were
maybe 12, 13
Okay.
to about 16, 17.
Okay.
Like one of my best friends was a wino. Brilliant guy.
Name?
He's Melvin Eugene Coates the first.
Get that.
He said, yeah, Mel. He was amazing. Great basketball player.
Yeah.
Drank himself to death.
I'm sorry.
But, you know, I was 14. He was 28. You know? And then we used to, and there was these guys, there's Big Jose, Little Jose, Black Guy Jr., who was like a drug dealer. And so I was hanging out with these guys, too. And I remember, here's the story. So I don't know what you can use, and I'm just going to talk like real.
Right.
So we're hanging out in Riverside Park. It's night in the summer. I was probably 15, and I was like a champion wrestler. So I was all jacked up. And they respected me for some reason, these guys. And I respected them. And I remember it was Big Jose, Little Jose, and this other guy, I don't remember who it was. They said to me, because it was like a bored night in the summer, they said, Jason, and I'd have nothing against homosexuality. I don't, my uncles, my brother's gay.
Yes.
I never, my mentor was gay. I don't, but they go, hey, you want to go fag beating? And I'm like, what is that? Because they say, come on. I say, okay. So, of course, that little part of you is going, something's wrong, right?
Right.
So we go to this place. It's called the Rambles, which is in Central Park, and here we are. We're the reason that people like us are the reason you don't go to Central Park at night.
Right.
So we're in this tunnel, and we just stand in the tunnel, and I guess this is where they said this is where the gay people meet. They didn't call them gay. I guess I don't know what the word was, but probably we were using the derogatory term.
Yeah, right, huh?
Yeah. Right. And so I said, well, what do you do? It said, well, here, just wait here, and as soon as somebody touches you, the law's on your side, you can punch him. I don't think I'd ever punched a guy in my life.
At this
I was
point.
a wrestler.
Right.
So we're standing there, and there's these gay people kind of meandering around. They're looking at us, and obviously they were perceptive enough to know, like,
Trouble.
Yeah, so nobody touched us, and so after about whatever amount, half an hour, and now it's 9, 10 o'clock at night, dark out, I remember, we just start walking in the park. What a story. It's a long story, but here we go. So we're walking in the park, and in front of us is this nebbishy guy who's maybe 30, 40 feet ahead of us. And we're like, okay, we're gonna mug him. And I'm like, you know, I'd never done anything like this, but I'm like, okay, and I guess I'm peer pressured. These guys they're criminals, you know, in their 20s, and I'm
Influential.
15.
Right.
So, but they're good guys. They're just behaving badly. This is what they know. And so we start like picking up our pace, and this guy can feel us coming, and you can feel his heart beating. He's terrified, and he's heading toward the east side, and we're catching up. And this guy, and he's kind of cutting this way, and we're cutting that way. And I mean, the terror, you could feel it, even though he never looked, maybe just a little bit like this. And and then I remember he's going through this children's playground with seesaws and stuff like that, and we're really coming up on him. And they say, come on, Jason, you never did it before. You go do it, Jay. And I don't know what to do, so I just kind of speed up, and I kick the guy in the back, right? And he falls down on his back, and he's the terror. And of course I feel this guilt, and I feel this, it's scary, and it's because it's such an unknown thing. And we're all like, give me your money, and I don't have any. And I remember he just had like a couple of dollars and a token, and we took that, and he's like, I don't know how to get home without. So I gave him his token back, right? And so we had his, like, I remember it was enough to buy a pizza for us, right? So we did this thing, and this is with these people this was kind of part of the way they operated.
Right.
That was
but
their
I had never
existence
done
up until
anything
that
like
point,
that.
yeah.
And we start walking back toward the west side. And I remember I felt like I'd done something wrong, as best I could experience that in the moment as a 15-year-old man. And I could tell that the two guys with me also, we were all quiet. Now here's the interesting part of the story. So it's Central Park in the middle of the night, right? And you know how you have roads going through Central Park, but nobody drives them at that hour?
Right.
So we're walking, 3 children, 3 not men, and we're walking, and we're coming across they're coming to across one of those little streets. Coming in the other direction is this big black man. This is a real man. He's probably in his late 30s, and he's big, and he's got a lot of presence, enough that we were like scared of him, right? But he was minding his own business, and he's walking in the same direction as we are. He's a little closer to the road from the other side, and he's got this limp, and he's walking with this limp, and he's just walking with this limp, and we're like, okay, this is something we got to keep our eye on. This man, okay? And even though they were in their 20s, they were boys, they were children. So he's coming up and he's just approaching the road. And in the middle of the night, these two kind of goombas from Bensonhurst, I remember one of them had red hair, feathered back, and then they're in their Monte Carlo and they're smoking pot, and they're obviously, and they got the music, the disco going really high. And they pull up and there happens to be a red light in the middle of nowhere. And so they're at the red light. And they pit there and they're like, and they're having their fun. And these are Bensonhurst guys that come into the city. So the black guy ignores the car. He's just limping across the street in front of him. The kid who's driving, the red-headed kid, the Italian guy, guns it, hits the man. He goes flying up in the air like this. The guy pulls out. He says, and they lie and they fly down the street laughing, and we're like, whoa. And this guy, this man, this real man, I mean that in the full sense of, just goes flying in the air and hits the ground, like right in the middle of the street, and we're like, oh. And the guy lays there for maybe 2-3 seconds. He gets up on an elbow, he watches the car go, he just shakes his head, and he gets up, and he keeps walking the exact same way with the exact same limp. And that was a lesson.
A defining moment.
That, because if I didn't know that was wrong what I did, it was no different than what I just saw, and that blind man could see that that was wrong.
Right.
And that is a moment in my life. And it's like, that's a gift.
Yeah.
That's a gift.
Right.
I mean, it was, that's not who you want to be.
Right.
Don't go that way.
Right.
Don't go that way. You know, I can't watch that movie. I don't want to play that guy.
Right.
So that is a moment in my life.
That's a defining moment.
Yeah.
That's not the goal, but it's usually what happens when you're going high with Mykelti and Kutch. I just wanted to know.
We all wanted to know.
Yeah.
But you asked the question.
But I asked the question.